So today we are dealing with complex fractions. Okay, a complex fraction just has fractions with one or more fractions in the numerator, denominator, both. So basically, here's your example right here. 1/3 divided by 1/2 is a complex fraction. So really, if you're dividing a fraction by a fraction, it's really called a complex fraction. Okay, the biggest thing is to remember when you divide a fraction by a fraction, right, we're really multiplying by the reciprocal or multiplying by the multiplicative inverse. And right, we just, in layman terms, call it keep, change, flip. Okay, so I'm going to keep 1/3. I change division to multiplication. And I take 1/4 and I flip it so that it is 4/1, or the multiplicative inverse of 1/4. 1 times 4 would be 4. 3 times 1 would be 3. Okay, and I'm going to make it a mixed number since it's an improper fraction. So 3 goes into 4 one time. I have a remainder of 1. So my answer is 1 1/3. Okay, again with B, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to keep the numerator, change division to multiplication, and now I need the multiplicative inverse of 3/4, which is 4/3. So 2 times 4 would be 8, and 3 times 3 would be 9. So I have 8/9, and I can't simplify that answer. Okay, so that is going to be my answer. Okay, again with C, I'm going to keep the numerator. I change the division or my fraction bar into multiplication, and I write the reciprocal of 6/7, which is 7/6. 1 times 7 would be 7. 5 times 6 would be 30. And since I cannot simplify 7/30, my answer will be 7/30. Okay, now we have problems that you only have one fraction. Okay, and so the biggest thing, and you sort of got to really make sure you're looking, this fraction bar here is larger, so that means 2/3 is going to stay the same, and I'm going to make 7 a fraction by calling it 7/1. And now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to keep 2/3. I'm going to write the multiplicative inverse of 7/1, which is 1/7. 2 times 1 is 2. 3 times 7 is 21. And since that is already in simplest form, I cannot do anything else. Okay, if I look at 2b, again, I'm looking for the larger fraction bar, which happens to be this one right here. So that means 2/4 stays together. And I make 2 a fraction by calling it 2/1. And I need the reciprocal of 2/1, which is 1/2. So you could cross cancel at this point, or you could multiply and then cross cancel. So 2 times 1 would be 2. 4 times 2 is 8. My greatest common factor would be 2. So I get 1/4. In this case, if you look at 2c, I can see that my larger fraction bar is there. So I need to make 14 a fraction by calling it 14/1. And again, I'm going to keep. I change division to multiplication, and I flip 7/9 so that it is 9/7. Okay. In this case, for this one, I am going to cross simplify, but you could just multiply straight across. So when you cross simplify, I'm looking at diagonals, okay, and I need to know what number can divide 14 and what number can divide 7. Well, that would be 7. So 14 divided by 7 leaves me with 2. 7 divided by 7 leaves me with 1. So now I'm going to multiply across. 2 times 9 would be 18. 1 times 1 would be 1. So my answer would just be 18. Okay, 3A. A truck driver drove 350 miles in 8 3/4 hours. What is the speed of the truck in miles per hour? Okay, so they're telling you what has to go first. Miles per hour. Miles has to go first. Okay, and so I'm going to write it as a fraction and call it 350 over 1. Okay, 8 3/4 I need to make improper, and that's going to go in my denominator. So remember, you're going to multiply the denominator by the whole number, which in this case is 32, and 32 plus 3 is going to be 35, and I keep my denominator, so I'm going to call it 35 over 4. And now again, I'm going to do keep, change, right? And the multiplicative inverse of 35 over 4 is 4/35. Okay. And this time I'm going to multiply straight across. And I get 1,400, and 1 times 35 is 35. Okay, I know I can divide by 5 since they both end in a 0 and a 5. 35 divided by 5 is 7. 1,400 divided by 5 is 280. Okay, since that's 28, I know I can divide it by 7. So I'm going to divide by 7 so that I'm left with 40 over 1. So my answer is 40 miles per hour. Okay, let's look at Got It problem 3B. Aubrey can walk 4.5 miles in 1.5 hours. Find her average speed in miles per hour. Okay, again, they tell me the order, miles per hour. So I'm going to start with my miles. 4.5 needs to become an improper fraction. So 2 times 4 is 8. 8 plus 1 would be 9. Divided by 1 1/2, I need to make that an improper fraction. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. And again, I'm going to keep the numerator. I change division to multiplication. I take the reciprocal of 3 over 2 and call it 2 over 3. In this case, okay, and you can multiply straight across or cross cancel. I'm going to cross cancel because, hey, what's 2 divided by 2 going to come out to? That's going to be 1. That's going to be 1. Now, if I do the reverse, 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. So 3 times 1 is 3. 1 times 1 is 1. So my answer is 3 miles per hour. Okay, last problems, I'm only going to do 2 of them. Okay, so I'm going to do 4A and I'm going to do 4D. Okay, if it's a percent, percents are always out of 100. Okay, so I'm going to make 100 a fraction by calling it 100 over 1 already. And 4.5, and we did this in the last problem, is really 9 over 2. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do keep, change. And that comes out to 9 over 200. And I cannot simplify it all, so my answer would be 9 over 200. That was 4A. Now I'm going to do 4D over here. Again, a percent means over 100. So that's really 100 over 1. And 3 1/3, right? If I make this improper, I'm going to keep my denominator. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 plus 1 is 10. And again, keep, change. Okay, I can cross cancel. For this example, I'm going to multiply straight across. 10 times 1 is 10. 3 times 100 is 300. I can divide the numerator and the denominator by 10 so that I get 1/30 as my answer.